Hey guys, it's just a quick disclaimer to say that the audio on this video podcast is not the best. We had some technical difficulties with Taku's microphone. We're still publishing the episode this week, obviously, hence why you're watching this video. It is just a heads up to say that the audio isn't great. There are certain times where you may not be able to hear him very well. Hopefully the conversation will still flow. Obviously I managed to still speak to him so I could kind of pick up bits he was saying. So we apologise, we're aware of it. We are going to fix it for the future episodes, but we had over an hour's worth of content here. We didn't want to waste it, and we got into some good conversation near the end. So I hope you can appreciate that we're in challenging times and that we are trying our best. Next few episodes coming up will be a lot better, so apologies for that, but you know, still good content, and we appreciate your feedback. So do give us a like, subscribe, comment, and enjoy the episode.
I'll start. You give us the dialogue of what's going on. And,
This is the weird.
jump in.
I think everyone that watching, it's quite obvious we are now obviously not together since our last few recordings. We had a nice break over Christmas and we've come back, and Bojo has obviously announced some more restrictions, so we aren't able we aren't able to be together and record, so we're using the power of the internet and trying it out. So hopefully, I hope this episode actually gets published, but yeah, hopefully this is good enough.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, I think this is the new normal for a while, at least for the next kind of couple of months. We don't want to stick to this format forever because it's just a bit shit.
You don't get the same personal.
No.
It's a little bit harder because you haven't got that person next to you, but do what you must, isn't it? Keep calm, carry on.
Yeah.
British spirit, you know?
Exactly. So we've got a fun episode anyway coming for you guys today. So hopefully it will deliver as well as a normal one. We can't do any funny skits. We apologise. But we're gonna, I think, hit on some pretty big things that have happened this week, really, and go into that. But for me, I'm self-isolating right now. Is a first throughout the whole pandemic, throughout the whole almost year now. I've not had to self-isolate. I've not even really had any scares. I had one COVID test, but voluntarily for a research project thing, and that was it. Yeah, I know. Nothing exciting. It was something at work that they were asking for volunteers to take part. They were trying to find people that were asymptomatic, and yeah, they'd done the normal test and stuff. I wasn't showing any symptoms. I hadn't been in touch with anyone that had symptoms, but they just wanted to test you anyway to see. I don't know if I was or not. They don't tell you. They just tell you if you have COVID or not.
Saying, did you do the nose and mouth test?
Yeah. So it was a drive-in one. I don't know. I knew it was like not going to be pleasant because I know lots of people that have had it done and said it's very unpleasant. But I wasn't expecting anything. Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. I turned up and they yam it down your throat, and I was like,
I had to do it for myself.
Oh no, because it was like this was a trial thing before they opened it all up to the public. They literally they held my head back. They had like a hand on top of my head and they were sticking it in my throat. It's it was intense, and then the throat was okay. It made me gag a little bit, but it wasn't anything too crazy.
The throat one isn't too bad. It's the nose.
That when and then they were like, "Can you tilt your head back a little bit so we can get a good angle?" I was like, "Okay." I leant back, and it was like a samurai sword just straight up there, and I could feel liquid from my eye dripping down my face, and I thought, "I'm not crying. I'm not crying." And yeah, I had the biggest, and it was like the thickest tear as well. It was like I couldn't even hide that bad boy. It was coming down proud, and The thing is one person was doing it and two other people were watching to make sure like how
It
they
was
would
done.
how it's meant to be done. So I had two people watch me as I'm like in the most awkward angle. This guy's like leaning into my car and shoving it up my nose, and yeah, they were like, "You're right." I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, COVID test was interesting. I felt abused when I was driving away with a tear down my eye, my nostril twitching. I was
Mm,
yeah, it wasn't pleasant. And then the one I had to do the other day was a self test, and it was the weirdest thing.
so,
Because, yeah, so I drove. So I was at the university, Northampton Uni.
mm,
It was in one of their car parks, and it was literally like something off a horror movie, like end of the world kind of type movie. And I got there, and you park up. There's like a little cabin thing, and there's a man in there in like a full hazmat kind of suit, full PPE, with a mask on, goggles, and everything. Asks you for your name, checks you. Yep, go that way, and then someone will meet you there. Sanitize on your way. So sanitized, got there, and it's like a mobile home kind of vibe. And there's someone there. Stop. Okay, stop. Name. Tell them your name, and then room 3, and you're like, "Oh, okay." So you like go into.
sounds like like, do you know one of those movies where there's like a pandemic or like a virus going about? That's what it sounds like.
It was literally like end of the world.
Mm,
It was spooky, and went in, and a guy literally again in full PPE come to me and said, "Do you know what you're doing? Have you done this before?" And I explained I've had it once, blah blah blah. And yeah, I open up my kit and I'm looking at everything and I'm shoving shit in my mouth and up my nose and in tubes, and then when I finished, there was a lady the other side of some glass, and there was like a letterbox in between us, and she said, "Put it through the letterbox." Put it through, and then she said, "You'll get your results in a couple of days." I was like, and then I literally walked out, got back in my car, and drove home. But it was at like 5 p.m. I went. Obviously, we're in the UK at the moment. 5 p.m. is dark, and it was been really cold the last few days as well. So
mm,
I left, and it was really foggy and just cold, and it was so eerie. I just felt like
mm.
it just made the whole atmosphere just so like, oh my god.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was it was interesting. So moving on from my COVID experience, we
Yeah,
we've been blessed in the news this week, haven't we? Really?
yeah. Quite a few stuff has happened in
Yeah.
a very short period of time.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with the big thing with Mr. Trump and his antics.
And the storming of the Capitol building.
Yeah, let's not say his antics because it weren't his antics. Let's talk about the antics of the
No, no, it's his antics. He
and then
incited them. His
his
antics.
his actions that then afterwards that then resulted in the best thing ever of him getting
What?
banned
Being banned.
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest. He's been banned from Pinterest.
That's the one that got me. I've been telling everyone, I was like, how do you get banned off Pinterest?
Honestly, like,
That's the one thing I thought everybody would say for.
how's he even? Is he even on Pinterest? What's he doing? Putting like little boards of
I know. And I
hairstyle.
want to know who follows him on Pinterest. Just
Yeah,
goes on there and goes Donald Trump. That's what I want to see.
it made me laugh. Even like Facebook, like it's even I didn't even know he was on Facebook.
Spotify.
It yeah, I saw he was banned on Spotify. Like, what's he doing? Releasing like some mad mixtapes and stuff. It's yeah, it was
Like a
interesting.
new track.
But let's go to the reasoning behind all of this and what happened. And I've seen a variety of kind of content on the internet of what's happened. Um, and
Hmm.
it's not nice to see some of it
Is it
because,
right? Can I explain it?
huh? Do you want to explain it?
Should I explain what it
Yeah,
is?
yeah,
Yeah? Just so people know what's going on.
yeah. If you have
So,
been under a rock,
basically, Yeah. No, just like the full story, because people just hear about the riots, but they don't know why people were rioting and how it's affected, how it's been caused by Donald Trump. So basically, Congress, after the Electoral College, after they've confirmed where all their points are going to, Congress then has to ratify the election, basically saying he is going to be our president on the 20th of January 2021, basically. And the vice president is normally the person that ratifies it to say this is going to be the next president of the United States. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Trump is holding a rally saying that they stole our election and that people need to be strong and you need to take back control by force. And that's what incited people to storm the Capitol building, break windows, smash into Congress, and they ended up basically hiding all the Congress people, including the vice president, which they all voted for, right? After they had left, I think it was around 2, 3 p.m. that they actually left, and they actually got to ratifying the next president of the United States. Um, Donald Donald Trump realized what he did, and then releases a statement to say Biden's going to be the next president, but I won't be there. And that's what happened in a tight little nutshell.
Thank you for that snippet. That was good for anyone that isn't aware of what's going on in the world. I'm sure, I hope that everyone does know, because it is, if you look at any news outlet, it is on there. But what triggered that, that's what triggered the masses, and some videos of absolute idiots and some almost famous imagery that I'm sure is going to be in the history books when we have kids going to school and they'll be researching Donald Trump. And it's just,
how to not fuck it in 4 years.
it's crazy. And some of these guys though now have already been arrested and been incarcerated, and it's great to see them in an orange jumpsuit.
The FBI they're looking for every single person that went.
Yeah,
FBI literally, you're refused to, literally.
I saw a video of this man climbing up a wall to get in, and his height is probably like 3 or 4 meters high, and he's got like 3/4 of the way, and someone's at the top trying to grab his hand to help him up, and he like gets literally, I think, like one more step and he'd be up, slips, falls straight on his back, and like you just,
onto a metal railing as well.
yeah, on the metal railing. You just think, well, probably deserve it, don't you? So
And this is America without healthcare, so that's going to set him back a few bob, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So
to a doctor. Well, do you know the Capitol building?
I was trying to raid it. I fell.
I didn't go back up. It wasn't that important.
And then on the flip side of that, I've seen lots of videos of staff members that worked there that were really terrified. Certain entrances that were blocked by the police, and the protesters had like pepper spray and stuff, because obviously in America you can literally buy everything. You can buy anything, and
so America be doing the most.
It's just stupid. And they had,
with healthcare, you can buy lots of things. Like,
I know, and they were pepper spraying all the police force, and I'm thinking, what if you get pepper sprayed? You're not going to be able to see it. Doesn't matter how big or tough you are, that shit hurts, and you're going to be in a lot of pain for a significant period of time.
It's literally peppers in your eyes.
There's a video of this police officer who's like bleeding from the face, and he's stuck between like this doorway, because other police officers are there, but he's been pepper sprayed so bad, and his eyes are literally like almost bleeding. And that's the police who's trying to protect it. He's crying and he's in pain because these stupid protesters are buying weapons and are using them on the police force that are meant to be protecting them from people that are it's just such a waste of police resource and time. to be there.
Well, it's not just that. A policeman died
Exactly.
as a
Like,
result of war.
what a waste of life that is. Like, what a waste.
And
Trump should
the
be held
saddest bit
accountable for
about
that.
it is the saddest bit about it is he was a Trump supporter.
Well,
Can you imagine getting played that hard?
you
The guy
support.
who you voted for twice is the reason why you did.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Like, he.
he lost an election because he didn't do his job properly.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
at all.
There's been, Trump could have quite easily, um, lost this election in a, you know, a modest manner. He could have just gone, do you know what? I've given it a bit like Conor McGregor, I think is a really good example of this, right?
Mm.
Biggest shit talker in the UFC, right? Will wind everyone up, will say the most horrible things to people to get them to buy, and he will say all this horrible stuff. If he wins, going to be a worst nightmare because he will not let you forget about it, and he's going to say how easy it was, and and all this. If you beat him, which he has been beaten, Nate Diaz, Khabib, he's been respectful to them once he's
Once
lost
you
to them
finish.
because he
Yeah.
said they're the better fighter. They've done this, they've done that. I respect the blah 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 blah. That's how it should have gone. You can
Mm.
chat as much shit. You can create this, whole character about yourself. If you lose, you got to be graceful in it. You can't then essentially because these people that have protested, yes, they're so stupid and they probably would have committed crimes in their life, or they already may already been criminals. But
Well,
they're
quickly
now
becoming it, but yeah.
they're now in prison or will be in prison because of his actions. If he took that gracefully and said, but public have made their decision, Biden, good luck, blah blah blah, those people
Mm.
wouldn't have reacted the way they did. Those people that are now in prison, that have families, children, wives, husbands, probably wouldn't be in prison. Well, at this stage, anyway. I mean, I'm sure they're that stupid to listen to him that they're probably stupid enough to commit further crimes at some point in their life, but probably not as serious as what they've done.
Mm. And
And yeah,
that's the thing. He's incited. There was another riot in America whereby a teenage boy got a rifle and he shot and killed someone at a Trump rally. Not a rally, it was Black Lives Matter protest, but he said he was going out because of Donald Trump's rally.
it's crazy. Do you know what I find crazy as well is the police out there don't have any protection. Like, they don't wear bulletproof vests. I don't think they just
It's
go
funny,
out
isn't it?
in a
But it's
shirt and trousers. At least here in the UK, we have stab vests. Our biggest thing is knife crime, so we wear a stab vest to prevent that. The biggest thing in America is gun crime. Police officers don't wear bulletproof vests. I mean, it's probably quite expensive. I don't know, but
yeah, Kevlar's one-time use, isn't it? So you get hit, and
but
then that part of the Kevlar's is
I know
permanently.
I know there's different grades of it as well. So you can have like a military grade to a low level grade. Even if you have a low level grade bulletproof vest on and it takes 80% of that force and it still goes into you, you're gonna get shot. At the end of the day, if you're in that position and you're gonna get shot, it's gonna suck regardless, right? But if you can have something that takes most of that damage away and it goes into you and it might not necessarily then kill you. I mean, I don't know the full,
Ins and outs
physics
of.
behind of what actually how it works and if that's actually
Well,
better
what
for your
happens is
body
the
or not.
force gets dispersed when it gets introduced by the force of the intrinsic value of the overall.
C minus X means this. And
I bet you, people listening, you believe me for a second, and that's why I love you guys.
no,
You're
but
actually
I know that is
listening.
true. I know when a bullet hits an object, it will dip off. It depends on the caliber of the bullet. It will dip off, or it will splinter, depending on what type of bullet it is. And in America,
Mm.
they can get their hands on any ammunition. They can have like hollow points. They can have
They
incendiary.
could do armor piercing.
Exactly,
That's
they can have all this
science
stuff,
can get that severely.
but you just
You can
hope.
literally go through tanks.
You just It amazes me when they're in these situations when they're being asked to, protect that, and they're literally just wearing minimal protection. You're like, wow, fair, fair play.
You see that guy with a bazooka? Can you go hit him with club, mate.
Yeah,
Ted is really bad at what he's doing.
exactly. So he's
At the
been to,
club, he
but
really doesn't want to come with you. Hit him with a taser.
yeah, got some pepper spray. But out of all that madness,
Yeah, the little mouth spray ones.
out of all that madness, though, some good did happen, and that was that those people got arrested or are still getting arrested. Trump has been banned forever
And
as well.
he's getting impeached as
Yeah,
well.
I wouldn't be surprised now over the next 12 months if there's multiple trials against him for things. Like you said, a
110%.
police officer died. Like, he has to be accountable for that, surely. Has to be.
Mm.
If he's in,
If he goes to prison, though,
if he goes to prison, I mean, he'll go. He has enough
that
money.
would be the day, isn't it?
He'll have enough money to. I reckon he'd flee the country. I reckon if he
Yeah.
if
He'll
they,
go to Mexico.
yeah, I think he would fly. He would either go to a little island, he'd buy an island and then go live on it and be like, can't get me, or I think he'll just flee. I saw that in an interview he said that he's planning on coming over to Scotland. I think he has a golf course over in Scotland or something. I'm not really sure, but he said he's going to come over to.
Yeah, his mother was Scottish.
He said he's going to come over and play
She's
golf. And Angela Merkel,
mm,
no, not Angela Merkel, because that is it Angela Merkel?
German. That's a
Yeah.
German chancellor.
What's the
Nicola Sturgeon.
Nicola Sturgeon? That's it. She made a comment to say he will not be coming, and we will not let him in. And the rules apply to everyone. Not doesn't matter who you are. The rules are the rules, and just
Mm.
made it very clear. So I liked that. I thought that was quite funny. He's been kicked in the balls hard over the last few months, and it has been amazing to see.
He did it to himself. He gave them the boot. He insulted their mother. And he pulled out his trousers. What else did you expect?
I know
You know what I mean?
the
You wanted it to happen.
the
Let's
best
be honest.
the best news title I'd seen is Home Alone 2 star Donald Trump banned from Twitter. And I just love the fact they refer to him as the Home Alone star.
His fingers must be itchy. His fingers must be itchy.
I would be scared, but I don't know. I think
He,
he's like so like deluded that he probably just doesn't think he's done anything wrong at all. So
yeah. Anyway, I think that's enough of America. Shall
yeah,
we bring it closer to home?
let's bring it closer to home.
Let's talk about those two women in Sheffield
Yeah,
that got a nasty fine for driving for a walk.
yeah. So I'm not sure how far they went to meet each other, but they met
Five,
at
5 miles?
how far? 5.
5.
So they drove
That's it.
5 miles, met up, and got a Starbucks, and then the police deemed that their Starbucks was a picnic, and then that they just need to get punished for that. I mean, that isn't the case for majority of other people. You won't, if you're watching this and that you are in that situation, that shouldn't happen. And if you are allowed to meet up with one other person and you are allowed to go for a walk, I think originally Sheffield police did back the decision made by those officers, but I think since it's had so much backlash and uproar
Mm.
that today so if you're watching this, we're recording Monday the 11th. So
Mm.
just watched the press conference with the government. Matt Hancock was on with a professor, and the question came up about it. So it's come up in the news conference thing with the government, from just one action of giving these people a fine. So they've had so much backlash from it that now they've said that they're reviewing it, and that so I would imagine it's going to get
It's like
dropped. It's
But
mad.
I think the government is playing a balancing act effectively. So they've got a pandemic on their hands. It's got worse. It's up to 70% more infectious. 1 million people have it, and they have to be shown to be doing something, and they need to be like, especially after, who was the guy that went to Durham, or yeah, County Durham, for Dominic Cummings?
Oh yeah, Dominic
After
Cummings.
Dominic Cummings fiasco,
Oh, that was a
they
madness.
have to be shown to be a government of law and order, effectively. So they're going to have to back this, but then it gets back to a case of they didn't do anything worse than what a politician is doing. It's a pandemic, so people haven't got their jobs, and then you're going to want them to pay £200 out of their own money
Yeah,
in a pandemic. So I think they've got a fine line. They need to show that they need to be strong. They're probably going to drop it because of PR, and it's just they need to show that it wasn't approved and it's not encouraging other people to do it.
yeah, and I think the problem is, and kind of the vibe I got off the conference tonight is that the rules still aren't clear. Like he was like reinforcing, you can meet with one person, and it can be for this walk. You can drive to meet somewhere, and it's like, well,
Really?
in the first lockdown, you couldn't do that. You shouldn't even really meet
Mm.
someone else. It was 1 hour of exercise a day, and now you can drive to meet up with someone to go for a walk for your exercise for the hour of the day.
Really? I
But then
thought it was don't do anything. I thought it was just stay at home at all costs.
no, you're allowed. Well, that is what it should be, but they're saying, but then you can go meet someone. Stay at home at all costs.
See,
But
now I'm confused.
exactly. So it's not clear. It's not a clear message. It's hard to enforce when it changes so much.
Mm.
And how long is this then going to last? Is what I think we're all asking. And what's the knock-on effect going to be 6 months down the line, 12 months, a year, 2 years? Well, 12 months is a year. Apologies. A
Mm.
year, 2 years, 3 years, and you know, for people's physical health, because
Mm.
you know, people are either going to be overeating right now because, like you said, people aren't working.
Mm.
So if you're at home doing nothing, you're just going to eat a load of shit. And if you're working for a
Mm.
company that can financially support you still, so when I say that, I mean they furlough you and the government pay the
Mm.
80% and the company will pay the extra 20, so you're on 100% pay still. If you're lucky enough to be working for a company like that, your life, the only thing that's changed in your life is you're getting your money still, but you're not going to work. So you've got less expense because you're not driving to work. You've not got to worry about clothes. You've not got to worry about necessarily your hygiene as much.
Going out.
You won't need to spend as much money on toiletries. You're saving a lot of money. So I'm sure that money is getting invested in food, and maybe you just don't care as much as what people you look like. So people are going to be gaining lots of weight. We may be the unhealthiest generation then, coming through.
Mm.
Or the flip of that, people might not be eating because they can't afford to eat because they've lost their job, their company. I know when I was at the Saints, we was on a salary cut, 25% salary cut. And that's
Well, everyone.
yeah, so it was 25% salary cut, and that's what it was. Lots of companies are doing that because they needed to make cuts within the company to be able to afford, you know, to keep everyone. It was either have salary cuts and keep everyone, or keep everything the same and lose people. We lost people as well,
Mm.
but we would have lost way more people if we didn't do what we did. And I
And
think
that's the thing, isn't it? Like, how do you balance that?
you will come close to your mic. I couldn't hear you there.
Oh,
Try now.
I wouldn't know what to do in that situation.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what I would do. I think
Because you're messing with people's lives, aren't you?
look, there's jobs out there. If I think worst case scenario, if and I know this is very easy to say, um, because I have a relatively well-rounded CV, so I feel like I'd be quite confident if that did happen to me that I'd be okay. People that aren't in those situations though that might not, there are still opportunities out there for you because there's lots of warehouse work right now going on because the demand for Amazon, the demand for delivery, like of clothes, of food, of everything, all those warehouse kind of jobs are just packing boxes and getting them out onto lorries to get them out to people is so high right now because no one can go out. Everyone is shopping online. If you lose your
I
job,
know,
there is opportunity there.
But then you've got to think about kids,
Think about what?
people that have kids. Schools aren't open
People that have kids.
for schools.
Yeah.
So how do you balance working, teaching, and bear in mind, those people have young kids. So you can't leave them at home alone. You don't have a big sister. You don't. Your uncle lives in Nottingham, so if you drive to Nottingham, you're going to get a £200 fine.
Yeah.
So it just leaves people between a rock and a hard place. And then, say if you go on universal credits, as per se,
Hmm.
you're getting pennies on the pennies effectively. Like what they give you is such a slap in the face. It wouldn't be worth even getting it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are probably really struggling, and then that reverts back to my other point of people are going to be overeating, undereating because they can either afford it, because they've got loads of money, well, more money than they did have before, or the opposite and have no money. And these people will put their kids first. Well, you hope they put their kids first anyway, and their kids eat, they don't. So they're only going to have one meal a day or something, whereas their kids are getting their full 3 meals a day. But it's really hard.
Mm,
I think though the good thing is a lot of companies are adapting to this now, and I've seen jobs be advertised, and it says on the job advert that you're required to now be able to work from home. So you obviously need a good internet connection from that, and you know, a room. When I say a room, you can do that from your bedroom, your bathroom, you do it
I
anywhere.
mean,
But
if you've got an internet connection and homeless, I think you got your priorities a bit mixed up
yeah, but
there. But
I think a lot of jobs now are incorporating that and understanding what's going on. That
mm,
and as well, like let's fast forward to the point uh, of what, like 85%, 90% of the country vaccinated. I think like 12% of the country have said they don't want to get the vaccine. So if everyone that wants it gets it, so let's say 62, 63 million people, or maybe less, have the
mm,
vaccine, life can go back to normal, they're telling us. Does life go
mm,
back to normal? How does it go back to normal? Because do you want to go back into the office? Do you want to, your mum or your sister or your child is or yourself is, your clinic, you're vulnerable, you're part of the extreme vulnerable part. Are you prepared to step out and go live your life again? Because you're being told by the government, who have told us that back in March 2020, this lockdown would only be 2 weeks, and we're now
and
nearly
it
a
has been
year
3
on,
months.
and we've had what, 80,000 deaths. That number might be wrong. I apologize, but are you going to trust that everything is safe just because they're telling you it's safe? Like how do you know? I mean, we're
Do
all
you not
right.
find
We're all right.
predictions?
We're fit, healthy, young people. We're going to be fine.
Mm,
If I was not though, would I want to trust that? I mean, just before this, in the second wave, I was going back in the office because I felt comfortable to do so.
mm,
But it was weird. I didn't feel comfortable when I was back there.
mm,
I went back because I needed some sanity in my life. I needed to get out of my house and just be in the office and see faces. Did I feel
mm,
safe? No. Did I feel like I'd rather be at home? Yes. I'd rather be
mm.
working from home, but I knew from like a mental perspective, it's better to get out.
Yeah, we're social creatures. At the end of the day, we need to see our faces. Otherwise, we'll.
Exactly. And how can people then in another 6 months have what, then a year and a half of essentially no social interaction? We're going to be the most anxious generation, you know, ever, because everyone's been stuck in the house, and it's going to be a massive thing.
Mm.
Do you want to go pub? Oh, pub.
I tell you what, I feel like I've lost social skills.
Yeah,
Genuinely, genuinely.
because you don't show emotion under a mask. You're wearing a mask.
Mm.
You can be dead inside basically, because no one can see. All they see is your eyes.
Tad bit dramatic, but
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And you can then
yes.
then we're gonna have to go back eventually into a society where you don't wear a mask, and then you know, it's gonna be a strange one. But yeah, I mean, those girls in Sheffield, reverting back to what we was talking about, I think a bit unfair considering.
Yeah.
But you know,
And do you know what? I think you were just unlucky to get caught.
yeah,
Because
technically, I think they. Again, I don't 100% know, but technically, I think it was okay. But at the same time, some people just want to put a message out there to be like, look, this is how we feel. So, but
you just need a couple of sacrificial lambs, and
yeah,
to those the women in Sheffield, they're
I know
that's,
you
that's what it
touched
is.
you touched upon kids earlier. So we can kind of move on to our last point,
Okay.
really, and kind of wrap this all up. Of education and kids and the potential for abuse and domestic abuse and all of that. So, you know, where we're at now is they've
I
just
think
gone.
so. I think that domestic abuse is something that a lot of people go through, but they don't understand that they're in it because they've got that break to go to work, because they've got that break to go to their friends, because they go out. But
Yeah.
now that you're at home with 3 months with someone, especially when they've been locked up as well,
Yeah.
I think abuse has really like skyrocketed in this sort of thing. And because people are not going out, because people are not social, because they're not going to work, nobody else around them is seeing this.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not
And I think
seeing the signs.
and I think as well, you know, when you say abuse as well, I think a lot of people think physical, you know, beating them up and that's what it is. And that's where it stems from, of course. That's like the main probably topic of it. But if you look further than that, especially within children and education, this between the ages of 4 and well up to 18, obviously because of education, that's so important. Um, Crucial parts of their lives to learn stuff and develop, and that's when your brain is growing the most.
Mm,
And they're not at school right now. They've not been at school for a lot of the year, or it's been very disrupted, or it's not been the way that they're used to learning. I mean, I don't know personally, 'cause I've not been into schools to see how it's properly being done. But from what I've seen and what I've heard from friends that are teachers, and
mm,
now they're not back at school, and they're not going to probably be back in school until at least the Feb half term. That's another 6 weeks off. Yes, they're meant to be e-learning, but
mm,
if the parents are borderline abusive, you know, mentally or physically, whatever, and they're not on top of making sure they're the ones that need to discipline their child to make sure they're doing these classes. So you're doing this, you're doing that. Keep up, you know, have you logged in yet? No. Okay, why not? If the kids just run around doing whatever they want and the parents are just letting them or just do not care because they're too busy doing whatever, that's gonna
mm,
have such a knock-on effect when they go back to school in Feb because all their classmates are gonna have done everything they've done, you know, they're meant to have done in class and they've not, and they're gonna be 6 weeks behind. I mean, I think
mm.
in general they're gonna be
That's,
behind anyway, but if the parents are not monitoring it and supporting it, it's they're essentially abusing their mental development for the future.
it's the neglect. And neglect is something that it doesn't have to be an active process. It doesn't mean like I have to think to neglect you. Sometimes neglect can come in through a lack of time, understanding, or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah,
And because parents went to school, but for most parents, it's like 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years ago and more, obviously.
yeah,
They're not going to remember half the stuff that you're learning. They're
no,
not going to know about global warming that we learnt about in school. I couldn't even teach someone that went to school, and I finished what? I'm giving away the game, aren't I, with my
Yeah.
age?
Like 6, 7 years ago.
6 or 7 years ago. And how do you expect a parent to do that? And of course, like there's e-learning, but realistically, are people going to even listen and acknowledge that? I know that I learn when people are on me, they're like watching me, and just having your teachers present meant that I did the work. I swear to God, if you just gave me a laptop and just said, you got a test in 10 months, I'll mess it up royally,
Same.
basically.
And I think that's where the potential massive issue is going to be, is that, you know, and it in a way it is neglect, yes, but as a parent you might just see it as, well, I'm just going to let him have an hour off this afternoon because, he's really upset that he can't see all his friends. So I'm,
Mm,
I'm going to let him play on the Xbox or something because I know it's going to cheer him up. Well, actually, that's the, you look at the bigger picture, that if you do that 3 or 4 times a week and they're getting an extra hour here and there, they're losing 5, 6 hours of education each week, more than what they would if they was at school, and how actually crucial that is.
times that by 32, that's 150 weeks, hours.
Exactly. And then if you actually look at how important that is during the development stage of a child's, brain and stuff, that's massive.
Mm,
And then they're gonna, what I really feel sorry for the kids is, if they're in like year 4, 5 now, and they're, you know, in the next couple of years, and eventually when they start secondary school in year 7, so they're 8, 9 years old now, they're going to be well behind where they should be joining secondary school. They're going to start secondary school. I can't really remember myself the shift and how difficult it was. I don't think it was massively difficult, but we never missed
mm,
any education. So it wasn't like
mm.
it was a natural transition. If you're going in, I've spoke to some friends that are teachers, and they've said these kids are already about a year behind on the curriculum. They're a year behind. What's this going to do? And then when they start in year 7, they might have a year 5 capability or a year 4 capability. Remember, everyone learns at different rates as well. Not everyone picks things up quickly. So some people, spelling might be really far behind. I mean, my handwriting, I'm still in like key stage 1 with my handwriting. I probably need to go back. But you know what I mean? If I
You
didn't,
don't deserve those ink pens.
yeah,
You still got pencils.
but still at school, they helped me. Do you know what I mean? And I got to where I got to with it through help and support. And if I had all this going on, Christ, I probably wouldn't even be able to write. Do you know? I mean, it wasn't that bad, but to make it more
I
extreme,
feel like you're still weak. Yeah.
that's where we could end up, and we could end up in a society in 10, 15 years, because that's when they're in 10, 15 years, that's when they'll all finish school,
Mm,
of potentially extremely uneducated people, and then employment rates would drop, businesses will go bust because they can't hire people, and the
mm.
economy will crash because everyone's just, uneducated.
Effectively.
And what do you do, like, for another 10, 15 years? Because you have to rely on them getting to then, you know, get in a relationship, have children and stuff. And then if they're not educated enough as well, and they might not be educated in the right areas, they may then have children at a very young age. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong
Mm,
with that, but at when you're at school, you kind of have sex ed and stuff, and you get taught about having a child and the commitment that is, and all the
mm,
responsibility you have, and how that is someone's life, and you're bringing them into society and stuff. But if you're 16 and you've not got any money and you can't do that, then you're just gonna bring that in. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, because at right now we're a very, I would say, pretty well educated country.
mm,
So that does happen a lot.
mm.
But could you imagine the magnitude it will happen if we have a very uneducated youth going into that, and then we have the youngest generation of parents. I mean, I think we already kind of do at the moment. It seems to I see on my Facebook all the time people popping them out left, right, and center. But
Mm.
you know,
You know
most
what
people
I
that
think as
go on.
well? Universities as well. So they
Yeah,
expect a certain level of education from their future students, isn't it?
yeah,
If they predict a grade on a year that they haven't done, they're not going to be prepared. I know what got me through first year of uni is what I learned in sixth form. Like, just that was my first year of uni. But to like go there and not even have the basis of the subject that you're taking to the literal nth degree
yeah,
is you're setting yourself up to fail, isn't it? Or they're going to have to lower their standards for people to pass because they need a certain pass rate at a university, isn't it?
yeah,
So they're going to have to lower their standard for people to pass. That's the only way I see it going.
yeah. No, I agree. And then it basically makes the degree, and this is no offense to anyone that's at university at the moment, that makes the degree almost worthless because you are not as well educated as someone that maybe done that degree a year ago or 2 years ago when they had that. And that's nothing to do with anyone that's at university now because that's not their fault. They aren't as well educated because they haven't been given the resource and the material to get themselves that educated. The whole point of
Mm,
university is you spend 3 years of study with professional help to get to a certain level. They're not going to be able to achieve that. So yeah, if they lower the boundary, what's the point? I mean,
exactly.
I understand. Essentially, you've paid to be somewhere, and you expect a product at the end of that, which is a degree. If you put in the hard work,
Mm,
they're not going to get that. They're not getting the same the resource that we got when we was at university. They're not getting the same social aspect. They're not getting the same feedback. I do agree that we something needs to be done, but if they lower the grade boundaries and give them a degree, they're going to go out into the world. And I say this because it won't benefit them because they're going to go out into the working world with a degree in psychology, a degree in business, a degree in language, whatever, there'll be an expectation from the employer that they are at a certain level with what they're going into, especially if they're getting in off their degree, they're going to go into that
mm.
job and have no fucking idea what they're doing because they've not learnt it at university. But it's all right because the government lowered the grade boundaries or said we're scrapping. I've heard that they're scrapping exams. Well, how does that benefit anyone? Like at all? I don't get it. I think that my view is that if you're in your first year and you've done fuck all really, let them stay for another year on the end, if possible, but they don't pay for it. So make that they end up doing a 4 year course rather than a 3 year, what they should do, but they only
Mm.
pay for the three that they signed up
They did.
for essentially.
Yeah.
Because surely that's
And
fair.
I feel like personally, and this is literally just my opinion, nobody act on it and just saying what I feel.
Yeah.
But I feel like, especially now with COVID, for the reasons that we did explain, I personally wouldn't go to uni
No.
right now, this in these past 2 or 3 years, because you would go to university, right? Your education is going to be up, down, all over,
Yeah.
right? Your degree is going to be worth less, not worthless, but worth less than previous years. And by the time you come out of uni, we're 99.999% of going to be in a recession anyway. And
Yeah.
then by the time the recession's over, nobody cares about what you've done in those period of time. They're going to want someone that's experienced anyway. Or they're going to hire someone younger because they can pay them less for longer.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So the return on investment, personally, I see it as negative. And if something's giving you negative money or negative value, why the hell would you go?
Yeah.
That's just how I feel personally right
I,
now.
no, I agree, and I think especially 2021. And if you just joined university, it's not too late to withdraw yourself, and financially you wouldn't be too bad off, I don't believe, because I think you'd be able to get a majority of the
Not
money back, if not all of it. My advice would be, if you can, enroll at college or something, learn a trade right now. You're realistically, you are going to be stuck at uni for 3 years, and it's going to be very disjointed. It's not going to be the same way it used to be, right? So
mm,
it's, and like we just said, potentially your degree could be worth a lot less.
mm,
If you can go to college and you can study something a bit more practical and get some hands-on experience, which you will get because college is a bit more designed like that. Don't worry thinking, oh, I've got a BTEC out of this or I've got a level 5 diploma or whatever, because that still looks really good. Like if you know a bit more where you want to go in something, then definitely go down that route. If you don't know what you want to do and you're like, oh my God, I mean, either kind of don't do anything right now, try get some form of a job, like I said earlier, warehouse kind of role, save your money. You
mm,
can't go out, save your money, wait for this to blow over. Well, I say blow over, wait for this to kind of get to a almost end. And then when time things go back to normal, then you can make a decision. Do I go to college and study something I really want to do? Do I go to
mm,
university and study what someone do? If not, I would just 100%, if I was in this situation now, I would maybe go into college and study something practical. If you're hands on, then go learn how to be a bricklayer, go learn how to be an electrician, go learn how to be a plumber, because all of these people right now are still working
mm.
because they are needed. Everyone else in the world is
I
on
would
standby.
I would say anything freelance is the best thing.
Yeah,
It's flexible. And I feel a lot of people are no longer going to big companies, except for social media and advertisement. But I
yeah,
feel like advertisement is never going to change. Everyone is no longer going to the big. I can't even tell you what a big plumbing company is anymore because people just they know their local plumber. You build up a base from there, and then you can crack on from there.
yeah,
So I feel like it's mainly going to freelance photography, media, especially with a lot more people doing like what we're doing, podcasting, YouTube, and all that other stuff. If you're good with a camera, freelance because loads of people and those are the jobs that are going to be in demand. That but if you have to go in, absolutely must. I would say just get into engineering and ICT. I don't know what it is.
yeah.
University computer science, I think it
Yeah,
is.
like computer engineers, like IT engineers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because that's a really good, yeah, thing to
Those are
do.
the only things that I see like really going long term.
Right,
Advertisement and building
right
stuff.
now is the
They're all
perfect
going.
time to get stuck in, get your head down, get on with it. Like there's nothing to do, there's no distractions. You can't meet your friends to go out for social stuff. You can't do anything. So start something now that you want to do, even if it's like you want to be a writer, but you know that you know, that's a lot of time and you're not going to get necessarily a lot of money from it and it's not a very good way to live. Well, right now, if you can and you've got a part-time job and you're furloughed and you're getting some, regular amount of money in, then great. Focus on that then. Write every single day. You can't go out anywhere. You can't do anything. Write. Crack on
Mm,
with it. Get your head stuck down. If you're an artist, you want to be an artist, draw every day. If your job this is obviously if your job allows you to do it because you've been furloughed or you're on flexi furlough or you're working from home so you have way more spare time in the evenings because you've not got a commute. If you have a passion right now, this is the perfect time to capitalize on it and crack on because
mm,
you're never, I promise in your life, never going to get this much spare time ever again, ever.
mm.
Apart from when you
Yeah.
retire, there's never going to be an opportunity whilst you are working. You work from the age of 18 to 65 in those 47 years of work, which is disgusting to think about, cheers, you're never going to get this much spare time unless you get signed off for a really long period of time of work or you take a sabbatical or something. You're never going to get this much time. Make the most of it.
Brilliant,
Get
brilliant.
your
Yeah,
head
no,
down.
mm,
Work. We could go one or two ways. We could be the most uneducated generation. We could be the biggest failure. We could have the biggest depression. We could have the biggest recession. If we go in positive mindset, we could be the most successful, we could be the most educated, we could be the most economically strong country generation that's been seen. I know that I'm trying to educate myself more and more every day. I know you are as well. You read, books on whatever that may be that's just going to educate you. It doesn't have to be though boring books on quantum mechanics. It can be books on fiction books, but maybe something to do with history or something to do with politics. Like if it's still fiction, still revolves around something that may interest you. It's going to educate you in that part. So we can go one or two ways. Really hope we go the positive side, but we'll see.
Always positive.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
good episode. I mean, I think a few technical difficulties with the old microphone. Hopefully, it's good enough for you guys. Probably isn't the best. So we'll look into it for the next episode. Give us some feedback. We will really appreciate it. Enjoying the support at the moment. It is useful. If you can give us a comment, whether if you don't want to do that publicly, you can just DM us on Instagram or Facebook, and we will obviously reply to you. We will include the feedback moving forward, anonymously or publicly, if you don't mind. It's just good to have that feedback. It helps us improve and it helps give you a better listener journey.
Please you as well. So,
Yeah,
thanks.
and yeah, like it, thumbs up, comment, all of that. But yeah, thank you for listening. This is the new normal for a while, so just going to get your head around it, and we'll look to improve moving forward. So apart from that, we're all done. Yeah, peace.
Peace.